The Bones and Bobbins podcast is now on Patreon. Would you like access to bonus episodes, digital extras, exclusive merch, and more? Join us in the Curiosity Shop at patreon.com/Bones and Bobbins.
Your generous support helps make the show happen and will also earn you our very eternal gratitude and entry into our private Patreon-only Facebook group.
Which is
a delight.
It really is.
So delightful that we said it at the exact same time.
Yep. We stand by our statement.
Yeah, so you know it's true.
Yeah.
In a dusty old shop on a forgotten old street, you'll find two witches with books 3 boxes deep. Next to rusty old needles and faded red thread, you'll come in for yarn, but leave with pigments instead. Whether poisons or patterns, we're always discreet, where creepy and crafty and morbidity meet. Welcome to the Bones and Bobbins podcast.
Hello, morbid makers. We are your slightly creepy,
Mildly disconcerting,
somewhat sinister,
delightfully discomposed,
opaquely odd,
merrily morbid,
and marvelously misanthropic hosts.
And this is Bones and Bobbins, Season 4, Episode 5, Traysure.
Yes. I'm Haley from Red Handled Scissors and a Very Serious Crafts podcast, and I go by she and her.
And I'm Natali from Uber Dark Designs, an official true crime creative, and my pronouns are she and her. So hey, hi, hello. How you doing? Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm locked in a battle with a door on the 3rd floor this week.
Yeah? Who's winning?
The door.
No.
Decidedly the door. So as people who have listened for a while know, I have the 3rd floor of my house as my workspace, and only one of those rooms currently has anything in it, and it is the one I'm sitting in. But the other main room, which will eventually be my study, is one of those weird spaces where something is a bit off, not necessarily in a bad way, but just, But that room, from when we bought the house, has a padlock latch on the outside of that door.
Which is always just a little, that's suspicious. That's weird.
Yes. Yeah, it is. But the thing that's worse is that it simply will not stay shut. And so at least once a day, I wander up the stairs, go past, absent-mindedly, close the door and flip the latch over to hold it in place. And then at some point after dark, I will come up the stairs and just, take a little look over to my left, and the door will be cracked open and the latch will be undone. And it just is.
Yeah,
it's fine. We seem to be just playing that game.
As long as
Whatever.
It doesn't, escalate.
Oh, it's been exactly the same since I moved in. It's just that I have a working light fixture in the hallway now. So I have been going up the stairs and into this room in pitch black. But now I can see that door.
Gotcha.
Because I have a light switch. And so it was doing it the whole time, because every single day I have to close the door again. Like, at this moment, when I was on my way downstairs, right before we started recording, I noticed that it was cracked open and unlatched. Like, it just does.
Yeah, I had a cubby hole like that in my room growing up. It was always a little, no.
Yeah, well, that room has a really large closet with a hidden door to a crawl space in the back of it. So it's got layers of...
Yeah, it's definitely layers of
Yeah, and the other side of the passage door up here is right in front of that room. So there's just a lot going on in that area. And, I mean, whatever. It's fine. I didn't need that door to stay shut anyway.
I was going to say, if with all that going on, I'm guessing the door popping open is probably like the least frightening of the possibilities, I suppose.
It's fine. I mean, like I said, I don't need to have that door shut. There is nothing in there at this moment. Like, my not pet-friendly plants are in this room with me. The only thing that's in that room currently is a barrister's bookcase with glass-fronted shelves, a really weird wall sconce with a hand holding a candle.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's
that
pretty
sounds
fun.
delightful.
Yep, and a mass of really confusing old gas pipes, I think, that the electricians found under the floor. So,
Nice.
like, it's fine. I mean, there's a nice window seat in there, so I just hope that that it's a pleasant experience for whatever does not want that door to be shut.
Same.
Anyway, how are you?
I'm good. It's the beginning of May, which is botanical thievery season for me, which means that I will boldly carry my... Okay, so I used to have the actual pruning shears, but now it's usually just like scissors. So then I may steal people's lilacs because they are my absolute favorite. And I have already acquired a glass dish and with a lid and coconut oil. And I am ordering tins for when it's completed, but I am determined to do some entourage and make us some concentrated lilac solid perfume.
I am excited. I am currently wearing some lilac enfleurage because there is... I can't tell. I can't tell if it has gone bad. Because lilac doesn't smell great when it's just dissolved in the fat. It doesn't smell like lilacs until you actually have it on you.
Right.
And so it's unclear. I don't know. It's fine, I'm sure.
I'm just excited because they're my favorite and nothing ever smells the same. Like, you cannot get anything that smells exactly like lilacs.
Except for enfleurage,
right.
Which is... I paid an absurd amount for the lilac solid perfume.
Yeah, I was...
that I have.
When I was looking at different types of tin, because we've covered enfleurage on the podcast, and I've also done research as well in terms of, like containers that you put it in, the carrier oils, all of that stuff. But I was looking at, tins to put it in when it's done. And it was funny because there's so many people, like somebody was on Etsy was trying to say that their solid lilac perfume was done via enfleurage. And I'm like, not for $10, it wasn't. Like, because it's like the other ones were like 60, 70 up on up. And I was like, there's no way.
I paid $150 for mine.
Right. I'm like, there's no way you nursed that pan of fat and lilacs for weeks, changing them daily. and they're charging $10 for that. So.
No, for sure not.
It's just something that I've always wanted to do, and
I'm really excited to see how it turns out, because I feel like coconut oil and lilacs would be a really lovely combination.
It seems to be the best of the oils. I know back in the... So there's a lot of people recommended Crisco. But I won't do Crisco because palm oil. So I don't want to contribute to that. And if I were to do the tallow mixture, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So I just don't feel like it would. Out of all of the ones that I've read up on, most people do use coconut, and it tends to be the best. So that's what I'm going with. And this could be a complete clusterfuck, but it will have me smelling lilacs daily for a while. So,
which is ideal,
right?
I just learned that because we bought the house at the end of April last year, but we didn't move here until the end of June. We missed all of the springtime blooming, so I had no idea that we have a bunch of lilacs.
Ooh!
Had no idea. So I, of course, absconded with some from my father-in-law's farm. And it turns out, no, I already have some.
There's a house toward town that has, at this point, I don't know if you could call it a bush, because it is literally taller than the house itself. And I'm stalking the shit out of that. That's huge. Yeah. That's lots and lots. I used to, it's been a little trickier around here, but yet not as tricky. Because growing up, I grew up with lilacs. And then I always knew the spots to go in. I did the food bank in town because they had a ton of lilacs. So I would donate a bag of food and steal their lilacs. In my head, quid pro quo.
Seems fine.
But here, I don't entirely know. Things are much more spread out and everything. But at the same time, if I post in our local Facebook group, hey, I'm looking to steal some lilacs, I'll have 5 people be come cut some of ours. So it takes a little bit of the sneakiness out of it, which is kind of fun sometimes. But at the same time, it also, guarantees you a solid source of the lilacs. So.
Yes. Well, I look forward to your stories of stealth and thievery.
My botanical thievery.
Like you do.
Yep.
Oh, that reminds me. I got a flower press for Christmas.
Nice.
Now would be the time.
Now would indeed be the time.
And I planted some poppies that I think are starting to come up. Poppies will make them sleep.
Yes, that's how I will forever hear the word poppies being said.
They'll sleep. Yes.
Nice.
That is probably plenty, Wicked Witch, for one day. Oh, I also went roller skating last Friday.
That photo that you posted was aesthetically just made every bit of me happy. Just so delightful.
I have to say, my 40-year-old body was like, excuse me.
Yeah.
These muscles have not been used in a very long time. The specific skating muscles? No.
Yeah. Youngest has some skates and is considering doing derby.
Yes.
She's very excited, which I am not surprised. In fact, we watched Whip It for the 9,000th time the other night. Wisconsin
is the Dairyland Dolls, right?
I don't know.
I think that's Madison.
I was going to say, we come from Milwaukee, which is Brew City Bruisers.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think Madison is Dairyland Dolls.
I have a ton of friends that have done Derby. So we were looking at names, which is always fun.
I mean, she could always go with my Derby name because we have the same name.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, which is Haley Hellcat.
Nice. We were looking at Hailstorm.
Oh, yes.
She's also a fan of Harley Quinn. We thought about Gnarly Quinn.
Nice.
Mine is Nerdosaurus Rex, and Rex is spelled like W-R-E-C-K-S.
Yes.
So she's got a little list going. We're going to order the helmet and some pads, and she's going to strap up and get to practicing and see where it goes. So
that's fun.
But I'm excited for you and being able to whip around. I mean,
the bruises.
That part's not fun, but there's that moment where your inner child's going wee. It's fun.
Yeah, there was a brief moment when Journeys Don't Stop Believing was blasting, and
yes.
I was like, all right, I have time traveled, it's fine. And all of a sudden, my legs were like, we know how to skate, we can do crossovers, it's fine. And then I face planted. I crashed several times, and it turns out that wrist guards are amazing.
Yes,
they weren't a thing when I was younger. And also, it's a whole lot funnier when you spectacularly wipe out when you're 40 and think it's funny.
Yes.
Than when you're younger and are like, oh, who's looking at me?
Right, because you're at the roller
I am
trying to
just going to laugh at you and laugh at me.
Yep.
And we're all going to laugh together. It's fine. But, yeah, so that's a thing.
That's an awesome thing.
Yeah,
Speaking of
skating again this Friday.
That is very cool. May you,
in theory,
be more successful with your crossovers and experience much less bruising.
Yeah, my right side has some beautiful purple and orangey yellow bruises at the moment.
Bruises are kind of fun when they don't hurt.
Oh, these hurt.
Oh no. Salt. Epsom salt.
I'm afraid of my bathtub. It's a whole
Oh, no, that makes, I recall.
I do not know the precise structural integrity of the floor in that bathroom. And so I'm afraid to fill up the tub.
That's true.
Which, it's fine.
Okay,
the answer is, it's fine.
We need to get you the Amish healing balm.
All right.
Yep. That'll do it. So speaking of cool
Noted.
stuff, now we should probably take a quick break to thank all of our fantastic Curiosity Shop members over on the Patreon. You are amazing.
Yes.
And if you join us, you will get your own special, totally normal, and not at all creepy, welcome shout out right about here in a future podcast.
It's true, because you, yes you, are the best.
The best.
And we would totally go explore hidden old graveyards in the woods with you, which is especially pertinent given our topics today.
Indeed. And if you want in on this fun, not only are you going to get some really great surprises and stuff, you also get like a ginormous backlog of Patreon-only episodes. I think we're up to 62 now. Getting ready to record 63, which is a wonderful tie-in to this week's episode. So, yeah, do it. Join us. Become one of us. Hang out.
One of us, one of us, one of us. I was really afraid for a moment that when I stopped doing that, it was going to keep going behind me. Because I have my back to the passage door.
Oh, no.
It's fine.
Indeed.
At least it hasn't opened itself in, like, the past half hour.
That's good. That's a good thing.
Oh, Mr. Big Stuff is howling outside my door.
Aww.
He can't come in. An explosion happened.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, do you want to talk about some Traysure?
Always. Traysure is fun.
Yeah. Would you like me to start, or would you like to start?
I think we usually go with you first. And I
We
think
do
that works.
usually go with me first.
I'm good
But,
with
you know, we could mix it up if ever we wanted to.
I'm never picky.
I am always picky.
See?
Forever.
It works out well
Yeah.
then. Keep me with
I'm
your
not picky
treasure.
about that, though. Oh my goodness. What am I even doing? Oh,
You're getting ready to tell me all about the treasure.
Yeah, I am going to tell you about Traysure. So, Vicky's going to tell you all about something.
This episode sponsored by Biggie.
I don't know why he's up here. He's supposed to be being fed by Jeremy, who is apparently... Oh, he has just gotten real quiet real fast. So.
A can has opened somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do believe that he has just gone thundering down the stairs. All right. Anyway.
Thunder so well. Ron Swanson sounds like a grown-ass man coming down those stairs. If it wasn't for the bell around his neck, I'd get worried some nights.
Yep. That is relatable.
Yep.
Very relatable. So, back to Traysure.
Treasure.
Yes. So I don't know about you, but I don't think anything sounds more fun to me than hunting for treasure with my friends.
Yeah,
Because, I mean, history geeks, friends, mysterious things,
Oh, yeah.
weird locations.
Yes.
Like, I feel really good about that. And I would probably go into significantly more areas looking for treasure than I would in normal life. Like, I would suspend my anxiety for significantly more locations. So, you know, it's entirely possible that I would go into a cave or a basement filled with spiders or a creepy house in the middle of the woods. You know, if there's a good reason.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I feel like that is just, like, I feel like as a mini human, it is my duty to humanity to go into the bad idea places if there's treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Or
agree.
like Goonies pirate ship treasure.
Yes. And it's that whole feeling like when you're a kid where you're like all about like ghost stories and shit. And you're like, I want to see it go. When you're with your friends, you're like 10,000 times more bold.
Oh, yeah. And, it's just so exciting. And you're going to find a mystery and uncover a thing.
Yes.
And it's, yeah. And so I feel like relatively few adult activities really bring that feeling back.
Right.
But I feel like looking for treasure is kind of, like, it does it for me. It really does. And so I have long wanted to do something like metal detecting or something like that, but I lived in New York City. You can't do that shit in New York City.
No.
Like, it's, no.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do? Go out into the wilds of Staten Island and find bullets? Maybe not. Yeah, not a great opportunity. I'm sure that there are people who do, and I'm sure that there are, like, I can already feel the emails coming in, being like, you are absolutely incorrect. We do this all the time, which is great, but I don't want to get arrested today.
Right. Tell us about it. We'd love to hear it. Like,
yeah, oh yes, definitely. And also all of the islands in the East River that have like the old sanatoriums on them, sure. And things like that. I know people who have gone to there, and it sounds really great, and I am totally not getting arrested for that.
Right.
But, I don't know, like 22-year-old me might have taken that chance.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Because at that age, you're like, man, where do I get a ticket for trespassing? Whatever.
Yeah, I feel like tangling with the NYPD is a kind of different animal.
Yeah.
Having tangled with them when I was 22, it does not feel the same way as a small town.
Right.
And we'll just leave that statement right there and walk away from it, whistling as though we did not say anything.
Indeed.
Okay. So, I feel like one of the great things about suddenly being a grown-ass woman with a Victorian mansion is that, like, old houses have treasure.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, I haven't found any good treasure, I don't think, but, like, there's always that opportunity.
Yeah.
So, in my old house in particular, I have found a very ornate toy cap gun that was hidden in the murder shack before we got that torn down.
Ooh.
And, yeah, imagine the construction workers pulling that out of the wall. And so we have that, and there were also glass jars and a bunch of old newspapers that were in a kind of secret room that was in the murder shack.
Ooh.
And they are literally sitting within sightline of me because I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make anything mad. And we've got, like, old coins, like, really old coins, but not anything special old coins, that disappear and reappear from time to time in closets or on window seats or, you know, just randomly. There's a nickel that's really made the rounds. And that's fine. And I've also found, like, beads and little pieces of jewelry from, like, things that have broken that got stuck in between floorboards, or, like, old handmade sewing pins, which scare me every time I find them. And, like, you know, things that just settle into the cracks as you're sweeping or something like that.
Which seem mundane, but at the same time, I think the tangible relativity of them, like, you could picture yourself using sewing pins, and, you know, you can visually imagine what the person was sewing, and, you know.
Yeah, I feel like holding that pin is sort of like reaching through time.
Yeah.
And because someone was doing the exact same thing with the exact same item that I'm holding, and they were holding it the same way that I'm holding it. I do think, like, day-to-day items are really interesting. And they are the most likely thing to find in an old house. Very few people find actual treasure. But
that's the thing, is that I don't think it needs to be fancy and rare to be considered treasure, you know?
oh, I agree. We have found approximately 1 million handmade square nails because our house is built with them. And they're just everywhere, and there are extras all over.
It's just fascinating, you know?
Yeah, and they're cool. And, like, we just had a carpenter put down a floorboard because we were rewiring a light in one of the medallions in the parlor downstairs, and we had to do it from the floor above to not disturb the plaster on the medallion. And so a carpenter absolutely just put those nails from presumably 1848 right back in.
That's awesome. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and so there's so much of that sort of thing. Like, we've also found within furniture tax stamps from liquor. And, like, I don't know, the Prohibition era items where you would have a prescription for fill in the blank thing that you wanted to drink.
Cocaine.
Like, things like that. The entire history of gas lighting and then electrical lighting exists in the walls in my house. And so those sorts of things I think are really cool. And so we've started putting together a personal museum of our house.
Oh,
and
I love that.
Yeah, so we're keeping the interesting things that cannot remain in place for various reasons. Like, we just had our porch leveled and the rotting planks of the floor replaced, and some work on the clapboard siding where the murder shack used to exist. And so there are some things that are worth saving but aren't safe to be in place anymore, like structurally. And so we also found, and when I say we, I mean the fabulous construction team that has an eye out for things like this, found an original piece of clapboard siding with the mill stamps on the inside.
Ooh.
Which was really cool.
Right?
Yeah, and so we're just collecting all of these little things and putting them aside because as, like, you know, a tribute to the house, like caring about that history. And so, like, that is sort of one kind of treasure hunting, but then old houses like this, although not this particular house that I know of yet, can sometimes have real treasure. And so I've mentioned before the Kresneski Home for Wayward Cats.
Yes.
They found real treasure, like treasure hidden under the floorboards, like gold coins, like real treasure. And I put a link in the show notes because there are events that they posted so people could take part in the actual looking around and stuff like that. And they also did a basement dig, like a midnight basement dig at one point.
That's fun.
Yeah, which
and it makes sense because there's a lot of points in history where banks weren't trusted and people would stash their money, you know.
Oh, a lot of people would bury valuables in the yard or in the basement or in the walls. Like, that was not terribly uncommon, and it was even more common in especially war-torn places and especially places where say, German soldiers were doing terrible things.
Those fuckers.
Which is not a thing that I got into, even though it is very much part of this kind of history.
Yeah.
That isn't the area of this history that I'm looking at. And so it sort of got me to thinking, I have mysterious brick structures in my basements. That's right, basements, multiple. And, like, why don't I go dig around in there? It's dirt.
That is true.
And it is a dirt floor, and there are mysterious holes that are covered up with wood that has been there for so long that it's smooth and shiny.
Okay, you're going to need to bring salt. You're going to need to bring a really big light. A weapon of choice. I suggest a dagger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically what I need is a friend and a metal detector. Like, that's what I need. Although Jeremy does really think that he's going to start digging around in what we think is a giant cistern.
Okay.
It's a large oval-shaped structure that is full of something.
Okay.
We think bricks.
You hope it.
I don't fucking know. Yeah, so I don't know, I'm sort of, I feel like weirdly springtime, since I've been outside digging and sort of discovering things I didn't know about my house, even though those things have existed.
Yeah.
The whole time that I've been here. I'm like whipping out invasive species and digging into the dirt and sometimes finding weird things. I mean, it's mostly been exploded glass transformers and things like that.
Yeah. But still, there's that thrill of the unknown.
Yeah, and like, I haven't found a frozen Charlotte yet. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I think when the workers were doing our front porch work, they either brought a good luck charm statue figurine or found it under my porch. It's kind of unclear, but they put it in a spot where it would preside over the entire project, and it stayed there the entire time.
Is it still there?
No, it left when they did.
Oh.
So I don't know what it was. I never saw it from the front.
Oh, you never saw, so you don't know if it's like a statue of a saint or...
It was a human.
Okay.
And I believe they had brown skin.
Okay.
But I think that... I think it was like a toy.
Oh. Okay. I mean...
I'm not sure. I don't know.
It's very interesting.
I mean, if it was under the porch, it also could have started out any color. Who knows?
True.
But yeah, so, like, sometimes that sort of thing is just fun.
It is.
And because I was curious about metal detecting, and I have an across the street neighbor who has attics and outbuildings filled with things that we have big plans to go through just because
fun.
Those things came with their house. And so I'm kind of in the mood to do a little bit of this exploring. And so I was wondering, what exactly were the legalities around metal detecting and like general treasure hunting? Specifically in my area, because I'm in New England and there's a lot of history here, And I assumed that there would be a lot of regulation because of that. And I was certainly correct. But it's like, it would seem that if I own it, I can poke around in it. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, with, the exception of know where your gas line is.
Yes,
like
always. It's a phone call.
Although we don't have
Digger's
that.
hotline is a call away.
Yes. We have tanks, it's fine. But, so I kind of just really, I want to play around. I want a toy. I want a metal detector.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to use one, but I feel like I'd figure it out.
They don't seem particularly hard, but I could be wrong.
I think maybe there's a trick to the different tones that different kinds of metals make.
Ooh, yeah, and there's variant degrees of metal detectors. There's the basic ones that are like the circle on the stick kind of thing, but there's some that have actual screens and shit on them. So,
yeah, I think that's like ultrasound, like ground penetrating radar or something. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about because I don't have a metal detector. So I need a friend.
Yes.
In the Vermont area or northern Mass.
We really just need to be neighbors.
Yeah. I mean, that seems reasonable. The mansion next door is empty.
Okay.
So, just come on over. So yeah, what was I saying? Oh. So because I'm super excited and want to go over my yard I want to dig up my whole yard, and I shouldn't because it's kind of frowned upon. So I looked into metal detecting broadly, and I zeroed in to begin with on Vermont laws. And Vermont's a really small state with a really low population. Mm-hmm. I think we have 600,000 people. So a lot of
That's cute.
our yes, a lot of our my neighborhood in Brooklyn had more people than that. So a lot of government websites in Vermont are
a breath away from GeoCities.
Oh, I have brought to you what I'm quite sure migrated from GeoCities in a second. But, yeah, so there are lots of really funny links to primary sources that are weird to me. So, the department?
I'm 12.
The Department of Forests, Parks, and Recreation for Vermont has a page dedicated to metal detecting and gold panning. Both.
Oh, wow.
On the same line. That links to a scanned report from the state geologists in the mid-1800s, and it was scanned in 1998, according to the file name. It's real bad.
Oh, and yet so good.
Yeah. And then a link to the website Metal Detecting World, which is a personal website of...
Okay.
I mean, a dedicated hobbyist, or I might say this person is a professional, but I'm not really sure what the requirements of that are, right. But certainly someone with great experience. And so, in Vermont, basically, the states like, yeah, finding and removing metal objects from beaches, parking areas, campsites, great. That will keep sharp things from cutting people. But also, if that park is located in someplace with history or archaeology, you're not allowed to do any of that. And I'm hard pressed to think of state land that isn't state land because of that.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. But unlike most states, there is a specific checklist of when metal detecting is allowed, as opposed to a checklist of when it isn't, which is basically always. So previously disturbed areas, so like constructed beaches or roadways, parking lots. I imagine they'd be kind of mad if you dug in a parking lot, but, or, established campsites, things like that. That is apparently mostly fine, and sometimes you can do other places, but the Commissioner of Forests and Parks has to approve it. And that process is real unclear to me. But yeah, so it's a lot of really weird and specific rules that don't make much sense to me because I don't do this, I guess. But like probing in permitted areas only with a hand tool to a maximum depth of 3 inches. I mean, at least give me 6. Yeah. And you can't do it in areas with obvious historical significance. So stone walls, cellar holes, etc. What about my own cellar hole?
I was like, hey, your cellar hole, your choice.
But also, Vermont is literally covered in stone walls. You will find them everywhere because at one point in history, most of Vermont was clear-cut and was grazing pasture. And stone walls were built to demarcate those areas. And so you'll be wandering through the woods and come upon a stone wall.
I can't imagine that there's a lot
every
of
5 seconds.
Cops out there that are like, hey, we got to take you in for metal detecting. Like, I can't imagine that.
Have you seen Super Troopers? Because that's the Vermont State Police.
Oh, no. Okay.
Just gonna leave it.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So, you are, however, if you are metal detecting, required to pick up and properly dispose of the items that you find that are like bottle caps and pull tabs and, I mean, glass, but you wouldn't find that with a metal detector.
Right.
And so I like that. I like that that is a thing. And there's sort of the general campsite rule of leave it how you found it.
Yeah.
So if you disturb something, you have to undisturb it. But I learned today that there was gold panning in Vermont.
That is wild to me.
Yeah. Quote, you are probably familiar with the famous California gold rush, but how many know that one occurred in Plymouth, Vermont? Farmers discovered placer gold in Broadbrook and for a time gave up their farming to pan gold. Canny Yanks that they were, they soon calculated that they weren't really earning more money than they had from farming, and the Vermont gold rush was over. This is from the government whatside of Vermont. I just
so it wasn't so much a rush as maybe a trickle or a jaunt.
yeah. So whatever. So I guess what I've learned from looking up the regulations in a lot of different areas is, frankly, a lot of people want to go treasure hunting.
Yeah.
And enough of them want to do so that some pretty detailed no you can't is hosted on government sites. Which honestly seems kind of like more trouble than it's worth, but I guess if you have especially sensitive ecological areas or historic
True.
areas, I get that. So, let's see. As you know, I'm a giant nerd. And as far as I can tell, the metal detecting community also seems to be filled with giant nerds.
Yes. Our people.
I feel like it's not dissimilar to like a Dungeons and Dragons guild or Warhammer players. I feel like I would find the
LARPing.
same people.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Give me some LARPing, some tabletop RPGs, and I think there's a lot of crossover between like geeky dudes and
Traysure.
very specific interest metal detecting.
Yeah.
Which I love because I too am a person of very specific interests and I feel like we would get along. But I also feel like it's kind of like the ghost hunting community in places where it's hard to get into because like, I was going to say proving your metal, but that is, yeah. But, like, I see dead people, but I'm certainly not going to show up to any ghost hunting group and try to make anybody believe that.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of gatekeepy. And
a lot of mansplaining.
Yeah. And it kind of feels like the metal detecting community might be that as well, but I could be completely wrong. Like, it may just be that I have come across the less welcoming parts of that community on the internet. But, so I think that if you can, like, if you've gotten in, if you make a friend with somebody who's involved, then probably you too can be involved, but I feel a little out of my depth in that particular area. But going back to the whole giant nerds of it all, I feel like a fine example of people being giant nerds about very specific things is the metal detecting hobby talk website, which I have linked, which looks like really, really enthusiastic people with just enough HTML knowledge to make trouble constructed it in the late 90s.
I love that.
And I say that with love.
Yes.
And I say that also having multiple GeoCities under my belt that harken back to the days of dial-up.
But like, it tracks because there's that the nerddom tracks in there because there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get, yes. Yes.
But then it's functional, and so nobody ever decided it needed to be pretty.
Right.
So it still looks exactly the same as it probably ever did. But I am delighted to find that, specifically that website, but that is not unusual within the metal detecting community website design. I am delighted to say that the forums are very much alive.
Yeah.
Like, there are 2023 posts aplenty. So they are actually still being used, and it's not like a relic of internet's past. So I think that's kind of cool. And a lot of these sites, because they are people who are sort of skirting the lines of what is and what isn't trespassing, or what is and what isn't legal, or what is and what isn't ethical.
They're rebellious nerds.
Yeah, well, I mean, curious nerds who think the rules don't apply to them, probably.
Okay, yeah. That's another way to look at it.
Yeah, but because of that, they really go all in on things like interactive maps of the different regulations state by state. And like they make it relatively easy to pull up the information that you would need to maybe not get arrested.
Love that.
Which I think is really useful and
Right.
really cool. Like somebody sat down and was like, I gotta do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did that thing for 36 hours.
Yeah.
And then it was useful to the whole community.
Yeah.
And still is.
I love that.
So, yeah, so I just think that's really neat. It sort of reminds me of like the halcyon days of craft blogs when a really enthusiastic personality could sling an awful lot of good information while still remaining personal, like not trying to make their website a company or a brand or anything. Right. And it feels like this is still, like this community is often still like that.
Like, what is it, cut and paste? Is that it? I think that's still around. There's a couple of them that are still around that are still
cut,
of the...
cut, copy, well, yeah, it'll
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, there's a couple
I
of
know
them out
exactly
there.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's primarily like bulletin boards and, you know, threads and forums and stuff, but it's lovely. Good memories.
Oh, Jack. Oh, Jack really wants to come in. I guess dinner's over. Yeah, so I just think that's neat, and I am delighted that the state of Vermont links to the Metal Detecting World website, which seems to just be some guy.
Well, you know, when you find an expert, you know, and you find a good source.
And he does seem to be, like, a very good source. But it's just funny to me that a government website's going to link to just some guy. So, in a delightfully pessimistic excerpt from the first annual report on geology of the state of Vermont by C.B. Adams, who was the state geologist in 1845, he wasn't that into Vermont Gold Rush. And he said, "What is true of all mining is especially true of gold mining. It is exceedingly uncertain business. If anywhere in nature lawlessness rules, it is in the arrangement of mineral veins. They may pass from rich to poor or wide to narrow very suddenly and apparently without any reason whatsoever. About all that is sure in a vein of ore is that part which is actually in sight. Hence, whoever goes into mining should distinctly understand that he is engaging in a very risky business, though a perfectly legitimate business. Much money has been made in mining, but much has also been lost."
He's a lot of fun at parties.
In an official government report. Like, wah, wah. So, unsurprisingly, the places where it seems like you would be likely to find the most cool things are the things that are well and truly off limits. The U.S. Forest Service has a lot to say about that matter. And it is more or less exactly what you think they would have to say. But they do offer a legal way to be involved with a lot of those archaeological and restoration sites, which do sometimes allow for hobby metal detectists, to work alongside professional archaeologists.
That's fun.
Or the Forest Service. And the program is called Passport in Time. And there's a calendar with information by state on the kinds of help they're looking for. And, like, it also seems to be stuck in the 90s. But it also seems like I pulled up the calendar, and there are things happening right now. And so I think that that's really cool that they know that people are going to do it anyway. And so giving someone a way to do it with some prestige attached is a really good way to make that attractive.
Yeah.
Instead of just doing your own thing. Because you can really screw up some sites.
Yeah.
Like, most of the time, probably not. Probably you're just going to dig up a coin somebody dropped 100 years ago. But
you never know.
Sometimes that's connected to an entirely larger context. And
like a crime scene.
It's important that you don't... Yeah. Maybe. It's important that you don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, if you too feel suddenly inclined to go search for God knows what, God knows where, a few places where you might want to do that are known old trash piles, because trash was usually buried in backyards of old houses. This is one of the weird New York City areas where you can, in fact, find treasure, because people buried their trash in their backyards, and so you can find lots of cool bottles and things like that. And I mean the same for not city areas. Usually, properties had a pit for trash, or pit. Like especially old areas where outhouses would have been, because people throw weird things into outhouses, and I mean, by the time you would be poking around in them, the lilacs have taken right care of anything that you ought to be concerned about, probably. But to poke around in your garden bed. Get a rake out. Just turn up some soil. That's a really solid way to do it. The thing you probably shouldn't do is illegal shit, even though it would be really cool. I mean, I have to say it because
liabilities.
Yep. But what I want to know from our listeners is, what is the weirdest thing you've ever found?
Ooh, yeah.
Like, in a setting like this. Please tell us. We really want to know. You can message us at Bones and Bobbins on the socials, or email us your story at podcast@bonesandbobbins.com. And it doesn't need to be something fit for us to read on a podcast. Right. Like, you can just tell us a fun story, and we can just be excited about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. So please tell us about the weird shit you find.
And tell us all the teams.
Yes. And I think that's it. There's a lot of research links that are in the show notes that will give you some places to poke around if you want to figure out what the laws are in your state.
Nice. I am excited because I am too carrying on the nerd love.
Yes. I'm excited for yours.
It's the research on all this just hit all the feels, hit all the good parts. It was so nice. So if you're listening to this, odds are you've at least heard the term geocaching. Some of you may even be thinking, is that still a thing? Not only is it still a thing, but according to the official site, geocaching is the world's largest treasure hunting game with over 3 million cleverly hidden containers called geocaches hidden all over the world, just waiting to be found.
That's so fun.
And today I'm going to talk about it.
Yes.
To start out, I'm going to take us back to its birth. Well, the day before it. The Big Blue Switch occurred on May 2nd, 2000.
Big Blue Switch?
Mm-hmm. Almost exactly 23 years ago. Back when you had to, print out MapQuest directions and hope they were right.
Oh my god. I once drove from Detroit to New York City through Canada. Instead of under the Great Lakes with printed MapQuest directions.
That's a brave mission.
Yeah, I just found the notebook when I was putting things away last week.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, because, prior to 2000, the U.S. military created and deployed satellites to produce accurate location information, but for military applications only. This was known as the Global Positioning System, or what we commonly call GPS. But selective availability restricted precise GPS data to only the U.S. government. Until on May 2nd, 2000, the U.S. government flipped the switch and made accurate GPS available to all. Geocachers are now proudly call this day the Blue Switch Day, and they celebrate it in spectacular ways every year. Now, before I tell you how this gave birth to the first geocache in a day, I want to take a moment to highlight a GPS pioneer named Gladys West. At a time of very few black women in science, West worked for the U.S. Navy to develop accurate models of the Earth for satellites.
Cool.
West's work in geodesy laid the foundation for GPS infrastructure. West and her team employed algorithms to account for Earth's complexities, such as the various levels of gravity worldwide, and she created computer programs to calculate precise satellite orbits. These calculations would become the underlying foundation for GPS. We love us some badass women, and Gladys deserves huge recognition for her work. So the next time you get lost and Google Maps get your ass out safely, you can thank Gladys. So
I frequently will be thanking Gladys.
She's adorable too. So the switch was flipped and access was out there. Now, the first documented placement of a GPS located cache took place on May 3rd, 2000, the very next day, by Dave Ulmer of Beaver Creek, Oregon.
I'm really surprised that GPS is that young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, yes, but also no.
Yeah. It's weird. So the location was posted on the Usenet news group.
Oh boy.
sci.geo.satellite/nav at 45 degrees 17.46 north, 122 degrees 24.800 west. I'm hoping I'm reading that right, because I don't know. But within 3 days, the cache had been found twice, first by somebody named Mike Teague. According to Dave Ulmer's message, this cache was a black plastic bucket that was partially buried and contained software, videos, books, money, a can of beans, and a slingshot.
Fun.
The geocache and most of its contents were eventually destroyed by a lawnmower. The can of beans was the only item salvaged and was turned into a trackable item called the original can of beans.
I bet that can destroyed the lawnmower.
Right? Another geocache plaque called the original Stash Tribute Plaque now sits at that site. So at this time, Dave and his merry band of nerds called it geostashing and had no idea what it would turn to. You see, they were just a group of people who were interested in technology and geography that used GPS devices and the internet to reinvent the older hobby of letterboxing.
Right.
Letterboxing is fucking amazing. I'm all about bringing it to the populative geocaching right now.
I think we actually did an episode on that on Very Serious Crafts.
Ooh, possibly. I was first introduced to it when my eldest had a letterboxing unit in one of her art classes. Like,
That's cool.
Really fucking loved Youth Initiative High School and cannot say enough things about it. So our friend's letterboxing origin can be traced to Dartmoor, Devon, England in 1854. William Crossing, in his guide to Dartmoor, states that a well-known Dartmoor guide, James Parrott, placed a bottle for visiting cards at Cranmere Pool on the North Moor in 1854. From this, hikers on the moor began to leave letters or postcards inside the box along the trail. Sometimes they were addressed to themselves, sometimes a friend or a relative, hence the name letterboxing. Now, the next person that discovered that site would collect the postcards and actually post them. In 1938, a plaque and letterbox in Crossing's memory were placed at Duck's Pool on southern Dartmoor. The first Dartmoor letterboxes were so remote and well hidden that only the most determined walkers could find them, allowing weeks to pass before letters made its way home. Until the 1970s, where there were no more than a dozen such sites around the moor, usually in the most inaccessible locations. However, letterboxes have been located in relatively accessible sites, and today there are like thousands of letterboxes within walking distance of the road. And as a result, in the tradition of leaving a letter or postcard in the box that has been forgotten, membership, the 100 Club, is open to anyone who has found at least 100 letterboxes on Dartmoor. And clues to locations of the letterboxes are published by the 100 Club in an annual catalog.
Cool.
Some letterboxes, however, still remain word of mouth, and the clues to their locations can only be obtained from the person who placed the box. Some clues...
Oh, I forgot that it was sneaky.
Yeah. Some clues may also be found in other letterboxes or on the internet, but this is more common for letterboxes in places other than Dartmoor, where there's like no 100 Club or a catalog.
Right.
Letterboxing has become a popular sport, with thousands of walkers gathering for box hunts, and while in some areas of Dartmoor it is particularly popular amongst children, some of the more difficult to find boxes and tougher terrain are better suited for more experienced adults. Letterboxes can be found in areas of the UK, and then they've spread like all over the world. The Scottish artist Alec Finlay has placed letterboxes with rubber stamped circle poems at locations around the world, including Yorkshire Sculpture Park. Interest in the US is generally considered to have been kicked off by a feature article in the Smithsonian Magazine in April of 1998. Clues to American letterboxes are commonly published on several different websites. Now, if letters are no longer left, what is? Well, individual letterboxes usually contain a logbook, an often hand-carved rubber stamp, and occasionally contain an ink pad. Finders make an imprint of the letterbox's stamp on their personal logbook, and then they leave an imprint of their personal stamp on the letterbox's logbook.
I fucking love that.
I know. My eldest had to carve her stamp and then, head out and, find ways to fill her book up. And it was ridiculously fucking delightful. Now, according to the official letterbox site, which is, at least, it's letterbox.org. I've linked it. But I checked it prior to recording today, and the most recent letterbox found just happened to be in Milwaukee on the Cardinal Stritch campus. And
was it you?
No. And it was today. So I thought that was amazing. So if you read the site, though, many leave behind, like, mysterious letters, and it's all so much fun. Like, there will be bits of...
I love a good mystery.
Yes, it's very much an art, literary, think Bridgertonery, you know what I mean? Like, I can almost picture, like...
There should be a murder mystery series specifically about letterboxers solving
literally wrote that down in my notes. I totally did.
I'm sorry.
No, don't at all. So absolutely, please check out the site. And I've actually added carving my own letterbox stamp to my to-do list. So I will rein it back up. So,
now I need to figure out if there's Vermont's weird. There's a community for pretty much all of the weird artsy things. So I feel like...
Also, I'm thinking, hear me out. There's got to be a way to tie in letterboxes with little free libraries.
Ooh.
Like little mysterious notes hidden in the books in the free libraries, and you're paging through, and it takes you on a mystery to like a letterbox. Yeah, my mind was going on this. So, all right, reining it back in. Yay, Gladys.
I found notes in books in little free libraries. There are approximately 1 million of them in the town I live in.
So my mind has been going on that one. So yay, Gladys, flip of the switch, good old Dave. Brings us up to, it's September of 2000. So this happened in May is when it started. So September, not that far off. Jeremy Irish launched geocaching.com, which was a listing site for geocaches. At the time of its launch, there were 75 known geocaches worldwide. Around October, November of 2000, Jeremy Irish, Elias Alvord, and Brian Roth founded the company Groundspeak Inc., DBA Geocaching Headquarters, to support the game of geocaching. Initial revenue came from the sale of 144 geocaching t-shirts.
Cool.
Groundspeak is now worth far more than that. The premium membership rate of $30 for the year has not increased at all over 20 years. They've kept the price the same.
That's nice.
Right, and you don't need the premium at all. In 2002, Geocaching Headquarters launched Cash in Trash Out, an environmental initiative that is supported by the worldwide geocaching community. So geocachers and community groups work together at these organized events to help improve outdoor spaces and preserve the natural beauty of geocache-friendly spaces by picking up trash, removing invasive species. And since its launch, more than 333,000 people have volunteered at 16,000 events, and over 8 million liters of garbage have been collected.
Cool.
One of the biggest rules of geocaching is pretty much do no harm. You leave it as you found it. You do nothing that would disturb the animals or plants where the geocache is placed. And respect for nature is absolutely fucking key. Now, the contents of geocaches are kind of a free-for-all. There's pretty much just like one rule, which is no food, drugs, or weapons. Food, kiss animals. And animals will get shit open. Drugs and weapons, obvious. But like tchotchkes galore are encouraged. And you may take any item in there if you leave one of equal or higher value. Like letterboxes, they also have a logbook for you to sign. But not a stamp, it's just your signature. But some logbooks also contain information about the area or the person that originally placed it. Sometimes there's even jokes that are left. You never know like what you're going to find. Now, geocaching was
so fun.
Right? Geocaching was huge around 2010, 2011. And again, many are like, oh, that's still a thing. Not only is it still a thing, but it continues to grow and thrive to the point where, like, the Boy Scouts have an official geocaching badge.
Oh, that's awesome.
Outdoor companies like REI have teams and sections of their own, like, site devoted to it. And hundreds of state and local parks around the U.S. not only have it featured on their sites, but host events and more. So
that's deeply wholesome.
It is. I'm telling you, like, this all fucking hit every part. I'm so excited. So, geocaching by the numbers, just some quick facts. Like I said, there's more than 3 million active geocaches worldwide. Geocaches are hidden in 191 different countries on all 7 continents, including Antarctica. More than 642...
Wait, including Antarctica?
Yep. Including Antarctica.
Huh. Somebody had a geek at a research station.
Right? Excuse me, just a moment. Currently, there are more than 642 million founded and event attended logs have been recorded since the game started in 2000. Currently, there are over 361,000 geocache owners throughout the world. Geocachers gather at over 36,000 events annually to share stories and to, I guess, play the game, even though it's not really a game. Like, I don't know.
Right.
There are more than 200...
I mean, it's an activity.
Right. There are more than 200 geocaching organizations around the world. Geocaching.com is translated into 24 languages. Android and iOS apps are translated into over 20 languages. Okay.
That's cool.
But what do you do and how can you get on this fun? I'm glad you asked.
Yes.
It's easy. You strap on a comfortable pair of walking or hiking shoes, grab a pen, and download the geocaching app for free. Link is in the show notes. If you're feeling fancy, grab some, I don't know, old Happy Meal toys or stickers or any old trinket you have lying about. Sign up for your free account and you'll be able to see any geocaches in your area. Pick one and find it. Like, it is the most accessible activity. Like, you literally just need to have a phone.
That's cool.
Like, and even the app is free. Like, everything about it is free for you to participate in. Now, before I wrap this up, the nerd and wannabe librarian in me feels the need to mention Groundspeak's other baby. So besides geocaching, their other baby is called waymarking. While geocaches are hidden treasures to be found, waymarking is a way to photograph, identify, and log things and places that hold importance of some sort, even if it's just one person. According to waymarking.com, waymarking is a way to mark unique locations on the planet and give them a voice. While GPS technology allows us to pinpoint any location on the planet, mark the location, and share it with others, waymarking is the tool set for categorizing and adding unique information for that location. Groundspeak's slogan is the language of the location, and our goal is to give people the tools to help others share and discover unique and interesting locations on the planet. We invite you to share your part of the world with us through waymarking.com. And again, you can download a free app and create a free account.
Man, that's so cool.
Right? So now that spring has finally arrived, maybe use letterboxing, geocaching, and waymarking to, like, create some fucking adventures of your own. Hear me out. Anybody listening?
Maybe I can meet some friends, since I don't have any.
Oh, what? I see what I'm saying.
I have plenty of friends in general, just
yes,
like 3 where I live.
Hear me out. If somebody came up to me and asked me to go geocaching, letterboxing, or waymarking on a date, tossing a picnic, that's Woo City right there. That is, my nerd heart is like, yes, you see me. Like, cause that's
do you hear that, people who are listening? I feel as though we need to make a podcast date happen for Natali.
I just
saying.
I just think it's so fun. It's so fun. Like, and I'm thinking for us, like, around here, waymarking would be super important for all of the vast farmlands that have, like, 2 graves sitting in a corner that are considered a cemetery. You can't find it on Find a Grave, but it's important for that family. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things.
Oh, yeah, waymark. Absolutely.
Like, yeah. So what started out as geocaching turned into so much more, and its birth and its growth, and the things that it's connected to. And I think all three dudes that started Groundspeak, I believe, are still active. That's still their company. And the fact that they haven't raised the $30 annual premium membership fee in 20 years, like, just, and that they launched the environmental initiative, that they're, you know, it just,
that makes me happy.
Yeah, I want to hug these people. Like,
yeah,
I think it's pretty.
And nobody used the second one for evil, because so many sites get destroyed.
Yeah.
So, you know, be very nice.
Be respectful. Yep, absolutely. So, that.
What a cool collection of things to do.
Right.
That's so fun.
And think about, like, it's such a wholesome activity to do with, like, your family or your friends, and it doesn't cost anything, and you can do it anywhere. Like, it just, yeah, I think it's pretty fun. You can do your own little mystery and treasure hunting.
I love that. I think that is so cool.
I think so, too. So.
Yeah, now I kind of want to go play outside.
Right? Right? Oh.
Maybe interact with another human? Maybe?
Back in our days, we used to leave the house in the summertime and not come home until it was dinner time.
I know. I'm from then.
I know. Can you imagine just running around and doing all these things? It'd be fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we kind of did that, except it was stashes of porn magazines in the woods.
Right? There was always one. There was always one, like, woods that had stash of porn magazines. There's always one. Oh, my God. That's funny.
And definitely somebody's older brother hid booze somewhere.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yep. Oh, my God. And I do miss a secret clubhouse.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So, I believe that brings us to the weekly worst
way to die. What's yours?
So mine is finally reaching that elusive geocache, only to get bit by some weird insect that I end up being deathly allergic to. Bonus, best way is hugging some adorable wildlife I encountered hunting down a geocache that clearly does not want to be hugged. Because that's how I inevitably shuffle off this mortal coil.
I think you need to carry an EpiPen and a first aid kit.
Yeah.
Perhaps a tourniquet kit. Yep, that sounds about right.
What about you?
Mine is whatever is in the mysterious brick structure in my basement.
Valid. Very valid.
Yep, I don't know what it is, but it's something.
It is indeed. So, do you want to be spooky internet friends?
Obviously.
Right? You can find us at Bones and Bobbins on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of the social medias, or you can just pop on over to bonesandbobbins.com.
It's true. And don't forget to rate and review this podcast because, you know, it pleases the internet gremlins, and that's how we show up in recommendations so that other morbid souls can find us.
Bring forth the morbid souls. Also, it just makes us really happy.
It does. It's true. It makes our day. I send screenshot texts to Natali, and then we squeak incoherently.
Me do.
It's true.
And on that note, let us leave you with some advice that you should never, ever forget. Lock your doors.
Yes. And don't run with scissors.
Woohoo!
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye. Each episode of the Bones and Bobbins podcast is written and researched by Haley Pearson Cox and Natali Hoyce. Our music was composed by Loyalty Freak Music. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bones and Bobbins. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, or check us out wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts so you won't miss a minute of our strange and creepy content.